I'm Zoe delahunty-light, and we all know Splatoon, right? Splatoon's reputation and popularity has been built upon its unique multiplayer battles told in messy, colourful ink as teams fight for territory, and rest assured, Splatoon 3 has all that, as you'd expect, but that's not what I want to talk about. Let me tell you about Splatoon 3's full single-player campaign, as it's full of wit and invention, serving up 8-ish hours of increasingly hard-edged challenge that's worthy of Splatoon veterans and newcomers alike. It's an absolute delight, and, to be honest, it's worth buying Splatoon 3 for the story mode alone. Here's why. It's kind of weird that the way you get to the story mode content of Splatoon 3 is so low-key. Accessed once again by popping down a drain hole in the main hub of Splatsville, it feels like a fairly underwhelming entrance for a mode that turns out to be, well, fantastic. But anyway, on to the important stuff. Splatoon 3's campaign gives you a full hub world to explore. 6 of them in fact, with the world of Alterna providing the backdrop for Splatoon 3's Return of the Mammalians storyline. The landmass is split into 6 islands that you gradually unlock through your adventures, using orbs you earn from playing through levels to blast away obstructions, so you can progress to the next set of levels or whatever secrets the overworld might be concealing. And believe me, there are secrets to discover. I can't go into detail on them in this video due to Nintendo's embargo guidelines, but keep an eye on the channel after the game releases. I'll definitely have something for you then. The way you journey through Alterna feels like a natural fit for the series, and it's helped along by Small Fry, a mini salmon sidekick you get, which I cannot decide if it's cute or not. Help me out here and please let me know if you think Small Fry is cute. It's kind of hard to describe Splatoon 3's story mode, but if you want an idea of what the story mode is like, the closest thing I can think to compare it to is traditional Mario campaigns, namely Super Mario Sunshine. Those comparisons have been made with Splatoon ever since its reveal in 2014, thanks to the fluid dynamics both games share, and though it does give you a good idea of what playing Splatoon 3 feels like, Splatoon 3 is as subversive a shooter as ever, with the main aim being to cover the map with your ink instead of splatting or killing the opposing team. Killing just sounds like way too serious of a term for Splatoon anyway. There's the same sense of fun in Splatoon 3's central mechanics as in the previous games, and with the addition of the story mode, you get the chance to employ them in ever more creative ways. Within the dozens of levels of Splatoon 3's campaign, there's just as many moments of surprise and delight as you'll find in some of the best Mario games. What I really loved about Splatoon 3's campaign is that you get to use all these mechanics in a way you can't really use them in Turf War, so I cannot stress how much you should play Splatoon 3's campaign mode, even if you think you're only interested in the multiplayer stuff. Splatoon 3's campaign does, essentially, still act as a tutorial, running you through the weapons and specials you'll be using in multiplayer, but, and this is a big but, describing it as a tutorial is massively simplifying things. The structure of its campaign makes Splatoon 3 welcoming to newcomers as it gradually introduces you to the game's core mechanics and strategies, and, for those who are familiar with Splatoon 3, getting a refresher is never a bad thing, but more importantly, you will find a surprising amount of challenge in its later stages. Calling the campaign an extended tutorial is doing it a disservice, and in the next point, I'm going to tell you why. The activities that Splatoon 3 will have you doing in its campaign are varied as hell, from platforming that's both horizontal and aggressively vertical, with the addition of a weapon which I will get onto in the next point. Look, sometimes it is fun just to go back to the basics and colour things in too, such as one level which has you simply using a big bucket of paint to cover a Mao head in thick ink. Easy, yes, but so very satisfying. The main selling point of Splatoon 3's campaign is that it gets you to use all these new weapons in increasingly ingenious and heart-racing ways. The new weapons introduced in Splatoon 3 are a novel bunch, with the most iconic one, in my opinion, being the Tri-Stringer, a bow and arrow that even Aloy would admire. It propels a trio of arrows that embed themselves in a surface and, when fully charged, explode in a satisfying splat. Finessing the tri-stringer takes some time and is something explored in delicious detail by target runs that have you lining up trick shots while speeding on an ink rail, putting your accuracy and dexterity to the test. What I loved about Splatoon 3's campaign is that elements of it feel kind of like a challenge mode for the mechanics that you think you've already mastered. Of course, because the tri-stringer is new, there's no way you could have mastered that yet, but divorcing it from the multiplayer aspect of Splatoon 3 means that you really get time to figure out how it works and, more importantly, to perfect your skill with it. Of course, you can take those skills into the multiplayer mode if you so wish, but it's also fun to just try and get as good as you can in the campaign mode, and really dedicate time to figuring out how the weapons work, with the kind of time that you just are not allowed in multiplayer mode because there's too many people trying to splat you and the map. New sub-weapons are ready and waiting to be toyed with as well, like the angle shooter grenade, which bounces off walls and is perfect for the ingenious, more puzzly levels you'll be faced with. Or new specials like the Zipcaster, and this goes back to that aggressively vertical platforming I mentioned earlier. It's a grapple of sorts that flings you towards your target at exhilarating speeds, used in a handful of dizzying vertical platforming levels. The creativity with which you can tackle these single-player levels is a joy to tinker with, sowing anticipation within, as, if using them in single-player is fun, imagine them in turf war. Now, if you know Splatoon well, you might be getting cocky about this tutorial-esque single-player mode, thinking you're gonna speedrun it. Bosses are not gonna let that happen. Boss encounters once again prove to be the highlight of the campaign and contain its tensest moments. Sadly, there's not much I can show you thanks to some pretty heavy restrictions in place in the embargo, though what I can say is that these restrictions are very understandable, as these boss fights are full of outlandish and ever-creative attacks from some familiar characters, and are definitely worth experiencing firsthand yourself. So look, we're gonna have to do some kind of trustful thing here, where you just trust me. The bosses in Splatoon 3 single player are something you have to see. While we're in the realm of things I can't show you yet, let me tell you some secrets. Not the T-type though, as Splatoon's secrets take the form of scrolls that can be found out in the hub world, which delve deep into Splatoon's lore. Whereas the lore of Splatoon has been gently outlined before, it's finally fully explored in Splatoon 3, dishing out more details about the series' cheery apocalypse with its grim warning of global warming, all wrapped up in disconcertingly colourful splashes and smiles. And yes, don't worry, that does mean a lore video is coming. Splatoon 3's story mode is enough of a challenge that by the campaign's end you should feel satisfied, if not a little exhausted by the trials the later levels have sent your way. For reference, Splatoon 3's campaign doesn't quite challenge in the same way that Octo Expansion did, which was a 2018 paid download for Splatoon 2, which is perhaps for the best, seeing as this campaign in Splatoon 3 feels more tooled towards newcomers than an add-on for the most dedicated players. All the same, it does provide a thrilling workout that's appropriately tough in parts. Splatoon 3's story mode does have downsides though. Nothing's really perfect, is it? The levels are, like those that came before, abstract things made of familiar parts, and they never quite have the coherence of a truly great level. They often feel like little labs or white box levels for the designers to toy in before they're fully fleshed out. But then, on the flip side, you do get to see some of Nintendo's finest designers at play, etching out little sketches for you to explore Splatoon 3's toolset with. It just feels like the full potential of the levels weren't quite realised, but that's no detriment to the levels themselves. They're still a hell of a lot of fun to play around in. Yes, I know this video is supposed to be all about Splatoon 3 story mode, but let me get in a couple of points about the multiplayer modes. It took a while, but Splatoon 3 finally has a lobby system which you can arse around in before multiplayer matches start. Alongside these lobbies is your own locker, which you can customize and display before matches, filling them with collectibles or tags you've got on your inky mitts on, as well as show off stuff you've found. You can also nosy into other players' lockers to see what they've been up to as well, and get a bit of locker envy. The lockers are a small detail that goes a really long way to making the multiplayer part of Splatoon 3 feel more coherent as a whole, as other multiplayer games have had lobbies and some kind of customization element for quite a long time. Lockers and lobbies may feel simple, but trust me, they go a long way to making Splatoon 3's multiplayer feel just a little bit more polished, as God knows there's not much more you can do to it to improve it. Finally, multiplayer has made some improvements to the fundamentals that are very slight but worthy of mention. Squid Roll is a quick dodge you do with the flick of a stick, and Squid Surge lets you jump up walls faster, but honestly, these moves are so slight that most people won't even notice they're there, which I guess is a good sign that they're a natural addition to your moveset. And that's my review of Splatoon 3's campaign story mode, as well as a couple of cheeky points about the multiplayer. What are you most looking forward to about Splatoon 3's campaign? Let me know in the comments below, and whether you think you're going to get it. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer, as we have a new video out almost every single day. Now, I'm gonna go and look at the Octolings and Inklings because they're so glossy that they kind of hypnotize me, so I'll see you next time.